Okay, so it's been a while. Um, so it has been a while since I have done a devlog for this project. This is the third main devlog that I am going to be doing. It's been, I think it's been well over a month now, and I have made quite a lot of progress with some systems and things like that. And you can see my face now. Hello. Um, so yeah, pardon me. I've made I've made quite a significant, not an insignificant amount of progress. So yeah, pardon me, pardon me. So I'm just gonna try and rattle through it because otherwise it'll take forever. If I try and go through everything all at once. So I believe the last devlog I did was regarding the board pieces. So back then, when I didn't really know about the systems or grid math or things like that, I was using ray casting for them, which obviously wasn't the correct thing to do. Um, since then, I have made everything into regular grid maths. So all of these pieces have coordinates, and I have calculations to help with all these coordinates kind of things. I'm sorry about the quality of my camera. I'm not really used to recording my face, so it's the first time. So as you can see in the details panel, this one has they have a grid position, it has a grid state, and then yeah. So and as you can see, it comes up with the coordinates, things like that. Like these ones are disabled, so like maybe in gameplay there'd be a rock on them or something. Um, Yeah, so I'll quickly show you where I'm up to right now. So I worked on the AI a lot this devlog, and so AI pathfinding as well. As you can see, the AI moved to the location. Um, so if I hold space, I can forward the turns of companion then to enemy. So this enemy can only move 2 spaces at once. So as you can see, it went that way, and it uses an A-star pathfinding system, which was quite difficult to do because I'm not familiar with grid maths at all. So yeah, so if I move closer, then it will move the 1 space it will need. I have added a bit of dynamic pathfinding to it, just a smidge. So for example, A-star or normal pathfinding systems will get the best shortest path to the destination, so logically it would be 2-2. I've added a little bit of sorry, a little bit of dynamic uh, code to it. So as you can see, 2-2, 3-2, and 1-2, they are all the same distance because I am using diagonals in my game as well. So it will take those 3 as the same distance, and it will pick one at random. It can still attack from all 3 of these, and yeah. So as you can see, it went to 1-3 instead of 2-3 because it's the same distance, just it would add a bit of dynamic. And then I haven't worked on attacks yet. That is one of the next steps I've got to. I just thought since it's been a while, I'd show the progress I was up to. So yeah, that's the main progress. So I have also learned how to do data assets in Unreal Engine as well. For example, where is it? Configurations. Yeah, so the factions in my games, of course, factions in general have, like they have the grunt enemies and they have like the higher tier enemies and the leaders, etc. So I've figured out how to create data assets. So using structs and enums, I can now assign IDs and data and like things to this enemy. Like for example, the entity ID is a blackline pawn because I'm basing this off chess. So, he's the grunt. I can change it to be like, the knight or something. The faction ID because I have implemented faction gameplay into the decision making of the AI, which I'm really excited to do. Which I'm really excited to try out, get to in the future. Like so this faction is called the Black Line, so I can choose the Black Line, and then the faction rank. So this one is a Grunt, Elite, Lieutenant, or Faction Leader. The reason I have this is because I'm going to keep it quite simple with the turn order. So each faction, for whatever law reason or whatever, has a speed variable, and then they can, like, if there's multiple enemy factions in the same combat, it'll choose the order based on what number I've given, but I'm keeping it simple. So within the faction leaders will go first, then the lieutenants, and the elites, and the grunts. It might change in the future, but that's how I'm just going to do it right now. Okay, keep it simple. Prefer close combat, or prefer ranged. That is to help the decision making of the AI when it chooses where to move. If it only has melee attacks, then yeah, it wants to be close all the time. If it only has ranged attacks, it wants to be ranged all the time. If it has either, or it wants to be any. And in the code, this pretty much says for the decision making, look, I prefer close. Am I distant to the target, or so then yeah, I should move closer. Or if I prefer ranged but I'm close to the target, yeah, I should back up a bit. So that's what that does. The combat configuration is just all of the basic information you'd expect an AI to have. You know, health, the movement range. I'm adding some behavioural things which I haven't fully implemented yet, but like things like the attacker takes target priority. So if the entity was attacked, if the actor was attacked by another player or enemy, they will be the focus of that enemy's next attack. If not, it's just like a random chance. They'll mostly focus on what they're focusing on. Focused aggression, they will lock in on one target and keep it going on that target until it's either dead or they die. Will retreat on low health. If they get low health, they might try and run away. I might get rid of that one because I haven't implemented this yet, but I can kind of foresee it being a bit frustrating. I might either get rid of that or try and rearrange it into something else. Will flank. This is mostly for ranged enemies, will they try and get around the enemies? I don't have any. Will they try and get around the target? I don't have any, like, critical hits or damage modifiers depending on the, where you're attacking from, like back, side, or front. So that's pretty not too useful right now, but yeah. But the first two I haven't implemented. And then finally the attack configuration. So this is the start. As I said earlier, I have not programmed attacks yet, but this is just a tiny start, at least for like basic attacks. So I've got the ID, which is this one is just grunt melee. What type of attack it is. Does it require alignment? So for example, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but like this is aligned. I'm on the same row as the enemy, as the target, or me. However, this is not aligned. I am not on the same row, I am not on the same column, I am not in the same diagonal. So the attack range is, obviously, how many squares away can it attack from? 1. That's it really. So this configuration I am using, so this can be applied to the AI en masse in the combat data. Where was it? I am losing. There it is. Yeah, combat data. So this way I can mass control different enemies all at once. I don't have to constantly create new things with new variables and new things like that. Oh god. So I've worked on a lot. So before I go to the code, just very quickly, I actually did work on a little utility program. So this is a editor utility widget I discovered how to do, which is really cool. So it works as like a little UI thing, and then I can effectively say, no, not do that. I can say like I want a 10 by 10 board. I can build it. So it will. No. Yeah, I haven't figured out the the location right now, so it just what's going on? So it just goes to like 0, 0. So yeah, this will build a board for me like very easily. Of course, it is different from that board. The coordinates do not line up, but you know, that's you know, it helps, something to work on. So this builds a board. I can delete that. I can say, okay, do I want a like a 6x3? It will build a 6x3. So this is a really cool thing. I mainly just made this to try to test out. It's really cool. As I mentioned, it's just a little UI with a little bit of messy code. Yeah. So onto the eye candy for programming at least. So most of what I've been working on is the AI in the past few weeks. It's actually missing its configuration. It's not good. 1 second. Just gonna quickly. Okay, there we go. We're back and it's all colourful again. Configuration is correctly loaded this time. So I'm just gonna have a very quick walkthrough through what I have done for the AI. I mean, once again, I am not a master programmer. I am learning as much as I am going along with this. So I might have done something that is not optimal or not really, the best thing to do. So when, pardon me, when it becomes the enemy's turn, which I have done through a combat manager within the game mode. Where is it? So, as mentioned, right now I can hold space and it will just move along the turn order. So yeah, it takes the factions into consideration. It orders them up for the turn, which is based upon the value I have done in it. I'll load that up again quickly. Yeah, but either way, it lines them up with the turn order, and then it figures out which tier enemy goes first, and then which actor goes first, and then it tells the actor, okay, execute your current turn. So step 1 of the current turn is selecting a target. So this is quite a chunky function. It does need to be split up into helper functions. I'm fully aware of that. So that is on my to-do list. So it takes in the preferred faction. Every where is it? Yeah. So every enemy can have a preferred faction. This is mainly just for lore reasons, but it can be. I can create different configurations, something that might target the player or something like that. So what that means is if this faction is on the board, it will prioritize targeting them, and if not, it'll just target like anyone as normal. So of course, if it was attack last turn, it will do a little bit of different code. Like for example, as mentioned in the combat configuration, if the attacker takes priority, it'll just straight up attack them. And right now, I've done it on a little chance system. Sorry, it's been a few weeks since I've looked at this one. I've been working on the pathfinding code for the most of it. It's taken quite a long time to flesh out. So yeah, a little chance. Also the focused aggression. Yes, I mentioned that as well. So that's another configuration behavior. So if it has the current target it is focused aggression, it will have a really good chance, or sorry, a low chance to just not change the target. Otherwise, it has an okay chance to change the target. So yeah, it'll just keep targeting the current target. If the faction ID is none, that means it'll just go after any. It'll just get the combat by faction. If it's none, again, it'll just get any, and it'll target that one. If it wasn't attacked this turn, it needs to choose a new target. And again, it's kind of just the exact same, except it doesn't include a couple of the behavioural things, like such as the attack last turn. So yeah, so if all that fails, it will just get a random target from the potential targets. So right now the potential target would be just the enemy, the player. And if all that fails, the enemy will just target the player. Step 2 was to choose an attack. So this one gets the target coordinates, preferred combat style, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the configuration, as prefers close or prefers ranged, and it'll get that. It gets the distance. It gets the distance to the target based on the Chebyshev method, which includes diagonals into the. Pardon me, which includes diagonals when you're doing grid maths, whereas the Manhattan method does just cardinal directions. So it will then, obviously, if it prefers close, it will have a 90% chance to just choose a close attack. If it prefers range, it'll have a 90% chance to do range. This, of course, if it chooses a close attack but it only has ranged, it will just do ranged. Obviously, I have got the failsafes in place, so it will then get the attack. So the cached attacks from the configuration, which is literally this one, it'll get the one based from the attack type, and then just do that one. Yeah. So in terms of the oh, I forgot to put that back. Yeah, so in terms of the, let me get the output log. So when it becomes the enemy's turn, it can see the chosen target is the player combatant. It's going to choose a grunt melee, but obviously it can't do melee, so it's just going to move towards it a bit. If I am close to it, of course, it's just going to strip do the melee. It doesn't need to move, which is great. If I add into the mix, like, I'll just call it ranged. This is a ranged attack. So now I have a minimum max. So let's say I want it to be minimum 3 squares away, maximum 4 squares away. Oh, I did that when it was playing. Ah, that's fine. So I think it should 4 squares away. Yep. Oh no. Oh, sorry, yes, it prefers close. So if I do prefer ranged, or I do any, it should do the ranged attack. Yeah, so it is in range of the attack, it will do ranged. If I am out of alignment, like I mentioned, it will not. As you can see, yeah. So it could not do the attack. So yeah, so that system's pretty cool. I'm quite happy with that system as it is right now. Moving on, so after it's chosen an attack, it will then check if it should move. So, pardon me. So like of course, if it's using a ranged attack, it doesn't want to be like right next to the enemy. It wants to move. If it's using a close attack, it doesn't want to be across to the side of the board, so it will move. So yeah, it will calculate. If it's aligned, there you go. It's a require alignment, and it will. It will calculate based on the distance from the. If the distance to target is less or greater than the min or max range, it obviously needs to move into that range. Same as well as for the close. Simply put, yep, just checks the distance. Does it need to move? Yes or no. If it does, this is where we get into the movement code, which is what I spent a great deal amount. So it'll get the reachable movement positions. So for example, this one. So it'll get the valid movement positions. So for example, this one's valid one is 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. So these are valid positions. Of course, it only has two blocks movement speed, but these are the valid targets that I want to aim for attacking. So mainly these three, but all these are valid targets. So I'll get those targets just from a simple adjacent calculation. You know, just get all of them +1, -1, etc. It will then check, does the coordinates exist? You know, for example, if it tries to get like 3, 0, doesn't exist. You know, we don't want that. And then it will check if it's active. So is it occupied? Is it disabled? You know, and then it'll add the successful candidates to an array. And then it'll get the distance between those, and it'll try and calculate the best candidate based on the distance for those. Pardon me. And then this is what took me the longest time, because I am not a savant with grid maths. This took a lot of trial and error and research and things like that. Yeah, so choose the valid movement path. So obviously it wants to move between cubes to get to the point it wants to get to. I discovered like various systems such as BFS, breadth first search, A-star movement, and I can't remember how to pronounce it. Let me remind myself how to pronounce it, because I will forget. Dijkstra's algorithm. No, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. Either way, I used A-star for this one because I've heard it is probably the most performant out of the lot. Even though my boards are never going to be, I doubt there'll be like hundreds and hundreds of cubes. You know, always best to optimize, especially with Unreal Engine. So. Yeah, so this pretty much, based on the cost to move to the square as well as the distance, it will calculate the best path there. Yeah. Attempts and distances, close distance. Oh yeah, and then it will keep trying until it has found the target, and then, yeah. Is that one? Sorry, it is still quite difficult for me to understand, but I am learning. That's what matters. Calculate moving cost. Where was the? Oh yes, that's the calculated pathway. So it calculates the pathway based on the yep. Yeah, there it is. So so based on the current coordinates, the target coordinates, and it outputs the path to follow. Find path using A-star. So this is the meat. So it calculates it takes the next cube, does an adjacent check, sees which is the best option based upon availability, cost to move, as well as the distance from the target. It adds into a heap and then pops the heap based upon the best option. It will attempt that until it eventually reaches the target, and then we now know that it has calculated a correct path, and then it will reverse that, and then that's the path they want to take. Again, this needs to be caught up into helper functions, but for readability. But yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah, so that literally adds up to the and then just the simple bit is just to start the movement along the path. You know, simply put, gets the index, moves, and then sets his location. It'll be looking at the player or target. That was just testing to end it because I have not done the attack yet. So the next step for me is to do the attack. But yeah, that's where I've gotten to. I haven't been working on this full time as I mentioned, but it is coming along quite well. So it is, compared to the first devlog, it is starting to look more like a turn-based game now. Obviously, thankfully, I am doing quite well with everything on it. I am just not working on it full time, so progress is a little bit slow. But yeah, so the next step is to implement attacks, and that is where I'm going to go for there. So yeah, I am happy for this. Let me just try and show off before I leave. I don't want this video is already 25 minutes, but I'm going to quickly show off the faction decision making a little bit better before I leave. So this one is. So I'm just going to very quickly make a configuration. Delete. Just for speed, I'm going to delete this after. So this one's going to be. Oh, this is only the ID. That doesn't matter too much for the decision making. So faction ID, their preferred faction is the Forlorn, which is a thingy. This doesn't matter for the decision making. Yep, prefer close. That's fine. This one prefers to attack the player. That should be right. Focused aggression can be on. Yeah, so I will take this duplicate AI into the combat data. I'm going to change it to be the faction. I'll put its movement range up to 4. Yeah, and then so the combatants. I'm going to make this test AI BPI 2, and I'm going to want this to start on this corner one, 4-5, which is board piece 12. And I want the regular AI to start on 25. There we go. So now I have 3 factions on the board. Everyone will move to their desired location. You know, I can move here. So this one should theoretically come for me, and this one should go for that one. Yep. So that one came for me. Oh, interesting, actually. Oh, well, there we go. We discovered a bug in real time. This was working last time I tested it. That was working last time I tested it. So there you go, we discovered a bug in the recording of this devlog, which I'll keep in for fun, because that is now a new challenge for me to overcome in the future, in the near future. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that comes from me. If I switch this to prefer the black line, since this is the only one working now, it'll go for the black line instead of the player. So this you can kind of see the building blocks, what I'm trying to establish. Like I said, that did work last time, but I love faction combats in games. I think it adds a lot of depth to the world and more dynamic, more engaging, things like that. It always is a shame in like some games I play when there is multiple factions in a combat, but all of them target the player. Even though they are enemies in like lore reasons, they will always target the player. I want like full combat between factions in this game, which I think is going to be so interesting, so fun. You know, maybe they're going to use AoEs that the player has to avoid to then get to their target or something. You know, I think that'll be really fun when I get it to work, of course. So yeah, I'm just going to stop this video here. It is already quite long. But yeah, thank you for watching. So the next step for my project on this, sorry, my brain. The next step for this project is to work on the attacks, the health systems, things like that. And I'm going to try and get a vertical slice out soon. So thank you for watching. Bye.